Five.
Yep. Welcome to Choose Rich Live. As you're well aware, it's the largest show on the internet. We're live on X, YouTube, covering technology and finance, specifically cryptocurrency and AI are the two subjects that we cover frequently and pretty much exclusively on this show. Today, we're switching things up. We're doing an interview first, and then we're diving into the market news. But I'm pretty excited to have today's guest on the show. Laura Shin has a storied history in journalism, and I wanted to dive in with her. She's potentially, probably the most respected journalist in crypto, if I'm being completely honest, because of her willingness to retain journalistic integrity throughout her career, which is why she is a rare breed in an industry plagued with so much, manipulation and questionable behavior. Laura has really remained steadfast in her coverage. I did see that there was, in her unbiased perspective, I did see there were some updates. And really, when I was doing additional research on things to discuss, Laura, AI seems to think that you're on the verge of basically breaking your integrity. Welcome to the show, Laura. I want to dive into, maybe I'll start off with that question.
Wait, what did AI say about me?
AI seems to have a couple of perceptions. Two things it said. One was she used to not own any crypto, and now she owns over $1,000 of each of multiple tokens. So maybe you can clear the record on what your position is with that. And then the other thing it sounded like was that there was the potential for you to get involved, maybe on the advocacy side. I'm not quite sure. Maybe you can speak to both of these things and discuss where you currently sit in terms of your how biased are you?
This is perfect because I've been waiting for somebody to ask me this. So first of all, okay. So what you asked me about, how much crypto I own and stuff like that, or when I've owned crypto, this is actually like a myth that I have to keep dispelling. So I first bought Bitcoin in 2015, you guys. I bought Bitcoin in 2015. It was like 200 something dollars. I was working at Forbes. Forbes has a policy that if you are covering something that you own, you just disclose it. That's it. That's their policy. Later, I quit Forbes. And when I quit Forbes, I wanted to freelance for other publications. And, I've been into crypto for 11 years now, right? But I have wanted to be a writer since I was a child. So for me, writing for these publications, writing books, these are dreams I've had for a lot longer than I ever, knew about crypto. Not that crypto existed back when I was a kid, but all I'm trying to say is people find it confusing that I would sell my crypto because I wanted to write for these publications. But you just need to understand, there's multiple ways to make money. But if I want to write for a publication, and that's a dream that I've had since I was a kid, there's only so many ways to do that. And, other publications literally have these policies where if you're going to cover something, you cannot own it at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I realized I'm going to kind of have this issue of some places are going to have a stricter policy than I'm used to. And so I wanted to be able to write for them. Now, I changed my mind. Why did I change my mind? Because, so after my book came out in 2022, as one does when one has a book, you end up writing for a bunch of publications because they know that you have something that you want to publicize and it's a good opportunity for, your name to be out there. So, it's funny because I used to tell this story by withholding the name of the publication, but I accidentally revealed it recently unintentionally. So I'll just say the name of the publication. Wired reached out to me to write for them. And before we got into the details, a higher editor to the person who reached out to me called me and was like, hey, you run a publication that takes sponsorship from crypto companies. And I was a Wired subscriber, so I pulled up their issue and I was like, yeah, when I flip through your magazine, all of the ads in this magazine are tech companies and you guys So my company has the same business model as your company, and as do many other publications.
Yes.
And yeah, he wouldn't let me write for them. He agreed with me, and he said like maybe in the future, but basically no, we didn't do it. So after that, I wish that I had immediately realized like this is stupid that I'm following this rule that I'm doing it for a reason and people still won't let me write for them. But it took me a few other years. Like I was dealing with so many personal things involving like my health, so it's just something that didn't come to my mind. But I did eventually buy back in, and yeah, on my disclosure, I think my company says like you have to disclose if you own more than $1,000 worth. So and so yeah, basically anytime I will own more than that, like I'll update the page basically. So that's what you saw, but I don't think it says anything about my ability to cover the space fairly and objectively, because look, you guys, I don't think that any one thing that I produce in terms of an article or a podcast or whatever is going to affect the price of any of the crypto assets that much. I'm just going to say that. And I've been covering it for 11 years. So, if you like my coverage, then you probably know how I approach the space. And the fact that I own now is not going to have any bearing on how I cover things. So
You have some, well, I appreciate the clarification. Do you own any meme coins?
oh, good question. I don't think so, unless somebody has sent me some. Oh no, I do. Somebody
Okay.
gave me a fart coin. So
Oh,
I have
there you
some fart. Yeah, I have fart coin.
go. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one to have recently.
Oh, I haven't even looked at the price.
It's going back up right now because, as
Oh.
they say, hot air rises. In terms of your coverage, well, I want to hop into so many different things. Obviously, there's the recent. I think the most iconic thing recently is the North Korea stuff that is pretty incredible. But we'll get to that in a minute. I think you also just have multiple like moments, but one of them would obviously be like Michael Saylor saying, "How many chairs do you own?" Or do you remember this moment?
No, I don't remember him asking me how many shares I owned.
You interviewed him, and this is like used in all of the clips,
No, no,
basically.
no, no, no. It was so I asked him, "Wait, you're he said that to me. I don't remember that."
Hold on one second. Are you sitting in one chair? How many chairs are you sitting in right now? Once during a viral interview about holding high conviction, while Laura references, yeah, all these songs like literally reference this moment. Are you not aware of this?
No, I knew about the one where they clip Laura. No, sorry. It's going up forever, Laura.
Yes, it's going up forever is definitely another one. I think that interview was filled with a lot of iconic moments. But he says, "Are you sitting on 10 chairs? Are you wearing 10 pairs of glasses?" And which honestly is some random logic. I don't even know.
I don't even understand what he's getting at.
He argued the true conviction means going all in on all in on the single best asset, comparing Bitcoin to using one screen or one microphone that you fully trust. One chair. There's literally a video. Maybe Ray, can you pull this up so Laura can actually see?
I'm working on it. I'm actively working on it. I've got the song. I'm trying to find the actual clip now.
Just Google. Well, the song is that the 2 minutes song, and it's called One Chair.
Yeah, but in the song, it like Laura said, the only references it going up forever. Gemini is telling me he says one chair, but I haven't been able to find a clip of one chair yet. I'm working on it though. As soon as I find it, I'll let you know.
Maybe there's another one. This is with another person that he's interviewed by. What I'll send you this link, Ray. But regardless, the bottom line is, you've interviewed crypto titans. I should specify.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
including
it's
Vitalik and a bunch of other people.
yes.
What has been? Well, when you got into this space, or sorry, you were about to say something, and then I'll ask the question.
Oh, just I think Michael Saylor got annoyed at me because I asked him about the accounting scandal from the year 2000 because when he popped back up in crypto, I was like, isn't that the guy from like the early .com crash? Like I was like, what? And I looked it up and I realized like, oh, right, he had that big accounting scandal because I was working at the Wall Street Journal at that time and I remember like MicroStrategy was this high flying stock and then it had this crash. And yeah, I think he was annoyed at me that I asked him about that.
What is your generally on the journalistic side of things, you want to avoid getting opinions into it, but hey, this is a completely biased news channel that you're tuned into here, Choose Rich Live. So I'm wondering, what do you have an opinion on any of these things? Like, let's start with Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy. Do you have an opinion on their organization? Because I saw you bring on a couple of people recently who, during the like the downturn that we recently had, who were I would say probably more measured in their commentary. You tend to have, I think more grounded guests on your show rather than people that are like completely off the wall. But once in a while it shows up. I think in terms of there was someone there who essentially was saying, didn't call it a Ponzi, stopped short of calling it a Ponzi, but basically, I don't know, was like, I don't know why you would own this. Do you have any feelings about MicroStrategy and Michael Saylor? And if so, what are they?
So I feel like he basically should have kept it simple. And now that he has complicated things, the mission is muddied and he's created like not only a problem for himself, but it has kind of like undermined people's confidence in him. So I would imagine that strategy and all its various products will not continue to do as well, or at least they won't continue to do as well as easily as they have in the past. And what I mean by that is I feel like if he had kept it to the original purpose, that he would have done a lot better. But it's kind of like he wanted to have his cake and eat it too. And so now he's in this weird position where he's selling Bitcoin he's not stacking sats anymore. He's literally stacking dollars. So that just goes to show you, he used to say, the dollars are melting ice cubes and whatever. And he's literally having to exchange his Bitcoin for these melting ice cubes. So it's just like, yeah, I think they made it so complicated that now they've kind of screwed themselves over. And, even with that, they probably could have done it, like had their cake and eaten it too, if it weren't for the fact that they made multiple mistakes in how they were managing that whole structure this year. And so, it was like, paying the debt down really early so that they now only had, I forget, whatever it was, like 5 months of runway or whatever the amount was. And then selling the $2 million worth of it, like that was just, because it just like completely spooked the market. Anyway, so point is, it was just like, now you're showing people that you can like be bumbling idiots. So now it's more about a confidence game. It's more about like how much people trust you to manage things smartly. And you've shown them multiple times that you didn't do that. So that's why I feel like I feel like they had a pretty good flywheel going, but that works if the narrative works. And now that they kind of fucked up the narrative in two different ways, like I said, stacking melting ice cubes rather than sats, and then now, messing up how they were managing the whole thing. Like once people are questioning your judgment, then the jig is like a little bit up, And yeah, I get the people who are like, they're never going to go bankrupt. They have so much Bitcoin. Like, of course, I understand, like rationally, like numbers wise, that's never going to happen. But like, this is not only, it's not just like a bunch of autists that are like number crunching. There is something about the human psychology that, because they're selling a product, they're selling themselves, they're selling their ability to manage this all. And there's a dent in that now. So I think, I think it's going to cause, let's just say it's the enthusiasm for them is going to be less, or the number of supporters they have is going to be less.
I would agree with that. My whole take is I own some MicroStrategy. I own a decent amount of Stretch actually when it like completely was appeared to be unwinding. I'll make videos where I'm just talking crap about Michael Saylor, obviously, but and I do it in a way that obviously is as salacious as possible. But I think that I still like am practical with my own investments, and I'm like, okay, this thing is like still like he still has billions and billions and billions of dollars of Bitcoin. So like I don't think that this thing is just gonna overnight unwind. I think there's multiple different mistakes that have been made. It's also their process of how they buy and when they sell. If they sell, if they're saying that, hey, we're going to sell, which is fine, I think they should just set the standard for what the methodology is for that. Because rather than dollar cost averaging, they did a better job at DCAing than I think Bitmine did, for example. Bitmine just like literally top blasted and spent 90% of the money at that point. And Tom Lee went and just got $100 million bonus or whatever the amount was, some ridiculous amount where I was like, this is crazy. But anyways, bottom line is I do think that it sustains. It's anyone's projection as to what how the price appreciates from here, assuming we re-enter a bull market. I think it'll continue to appreciate. I have no idea what price it'll hit. I couldn't tell you, and I think you're definitively right with your perspective on, at least from those that are like I think practical and informed on it. It's very objective to be like, hey, you guys have kind of changed the narrative here a couple of times.
Yeah, yeah, like even that thing about, what was it? It used to be, "We'll never sell our Bitcoin," and then it was, "We'll never sell we'll
I'll never
never
sell
net
my
sell."
Bitcoin.
Yeah. Like that, suddenly it's just like these lawyerly changes to the language.
Yeah. Which feel a little bit dangerous. I'm like, yo, there. It feels like there's the like beginnings of a lawsuit set it like being put into motion, but I don't know.
Well, no, but, there is something about the language he was using for STRC. Remind me, was there an actual lawsuit for that?
I don't
Because
know.
about yeah.
There
What?
hasn't been, but I forget what the exact language was that you're referring to. But I do recall seeing it where I'm like, are you able? Where he was calling it a savings account.
Yeah, yeah, like better
And
than
I'm
a
like,
savings.
ooh, I'm like, that's a tough one to go and claim. And I'm like, a savings account doesn't go down in principle. I'm like, that's a very, very risky like territory to be in. And especially with a floating asset. It's not, I understand they have a target price, but like, it's not a stable coin. It's literally, and it's not engineered as a stable coin. It's designed, it's a floating stock.
Yeah.
Price could be anything on any given day, basically.
Yeah, I think if I recall correctly, I think on the chopping block, Tarun was comparing it to Terra Luna, and obviously we're not saying it's going to collapse or anything like that, but we're just talking about how like the promises that were made and like
Yeah.
what was actually like it doesn't match up, and that causes a problem. So yeah, I don't remember. It was like smarter than a savings account or better than a savings account, or I don't remember, but I do feel like there was talk about a potential lawsuit or maybe even a class action. Or, does anybody remember?
I don't know about that, but inevitably there will be. I mean, there's a lot of enterprising lawyers out there of which this would be a phenomenal target to try and. I think the reality is you need to go find people who've been damaged by that promise and truly viewed the true marketing narrative of this one specific tweet. The challenge of that, in my opinion, is basically the reality is that the main consumers of a lot of this information, of Michael Saylor's content, are people who are well informed and basically take one position, one side or the other. It's
Yeah.
it's either people who view this as a Ponzi and are just chopping at the bit the moment that he calls it a savings account. And then there's the other people that are like, Michael Saylor is a genius and he can do no wrong. And I think that's kind of like the general audience that exists. And so it's harder. I don't know how many people, like, if you were to look at X all day long, I mean, people are just doing straight up illegal stuff at this point in time with like selling tokens. So it's like, okay, where is the line on any of this at this moment in time? And it's completely become like gray territory, especially as Trump, and the entire administration has just like been like public corruption. It's like that no one debates. There's literally no, you talk to a Trump supporter or whatever, they're like, yeah, that is pretty bad. They'll like acknowledge it. So I think it's like, it's the world has changed, I think, in terms of the way these things are perceived. Quite okay.
Yeah.
So I remember you at seeing you at the Sam Bankman-Fried trial, but you've covered a lot of these different moments in the history of crypto. First, I know that you bought Bitcoin. I don't want to dive into that, but maybe you can give a like 30-second like your hot take on why cover crypto versus anything else. Obviously, there's a lot of perks having like I think it is an interesting vertical to be in. But the second part of that is you've interviewed people like I believe you probably even you interviewed Sam Bankman-Fried as well, but Vitalik and a number of other people. What's like kind of what's been your most interesting, I guess, that you feel or that you like really feel was most notable for yourself personally? And then the other aspect of that is like, what's your overall kind of take on this industry from a sort of like ethos side of things? Like, I'm just curious, like how you see that, like, yeah, it's. I want to say as succinctly as possible because I want to dive into more things with you, but I am genuinely curious, you know, why you started and what your take is.
So I cover crypto because it's easily far and away the most interesting beat I've ever covered in my entire life. Nothing even comes close. And just after I learned about Bitcoin, I just became completely obsessed with it. Like, I just could not stop thinking about it. Like I'm pretty much everybody listening to this show has had that experience of like, you learn something about Bitcoin and then it's like, oh, okay, interesting. But then that raises another question. So then you have to ask another question. But then when you learn the answer to that, then it's like, okay, but then what about this next thing? And then like 11 years later, you're like still here. And so it just feels like that. It's like something so paradigm shifting that it like rearranges how you look at the world, and then it just you can't stop thinking about it because it's just like, whoa, I have never come across anything like this ever before. And then it kind of makes you realize like, oh, this is going to change the world. And you know, I'm older than most people in crypto, so I watched the whole internet thing happen. You know, it was like, when I got to college, I got my first email account. You know what I mean? So when I graduated, it was like the internet as we know it was just starting to be a thing. So like and I was Stanford class of 97. Like I saw my peers have their lives changed by the internet, like within 5 years of us graduating. So I missed that all because I, was working at these media publications, but I was like at the website and I wanted to be at the actual magazine or the actual newspaper. And I felt like I was at the wrong place. And now I'm like, oh my God, everything's online. Like, how did I miss that was going to be the future? So I think by then, by the time I got into crypto, I kind of like knew, oh, this is definitely going to become a thing, the way that I watch the internet, go from nothing to like everything. But then the other thing is, the other reason why I love covering crypto is because the characters are so crazy. So for a storyteller, this is just like the perfect beat. And I myself am a weirdo. So I really like crypto people. I feel so I'm one of those people, I get into things very early. Like I get into things like 10 or 15 years before kind of like the world catches up. And it took me until my 40s to realize that I was like that, because it was so long between when I would get into things and when they would become mainstream that I would be like, oh, like I used to do that long ago. And anyway, so point is that crypto people are like that. They're early adopters. So I kind of like found my tribe here. It's like people who can see the future before it happens. I feel like I'm amongst my people when I'm with crypto people, because I'm a weirdo. I'm somebody who can kind of like see things before the rest of the world can. And I'm interested in, making the world a better place. And I think crypto will do that. Because I know like in certain political circles, people like to shit on crypto and like crypto bros, and they think crypto is just like all scammers and whatever. But I bet if you asked, all the people on the planet, like at least more than half, if not like 90% of people would say that the internet has been a force for good. So, I think crypto, yeah, I think eventually that will be the same. In terms of my favorite interviews, honestly, so I'm probably going to go with like some of the lesser known ones. I really did enjoy the one with CZ actually because we were arguing about regulation. And then, yeah, Binance got hit for exactly the same things I was questioning him about in the interview. But probably what sticks to my mind are ones that are like a little bit more emotional and like bring out the ways in which crypto helps like everyday people. And so Wences Casares came on the show, told his personal story about growing up in Argentina and his family, being subject to hyperinflation and like seeing their savings just decimated multiple times due to not through any fault of their own, but because the government literally just hyperinflated the currency to the point where it didn't have value. And he told a very personal story with that about like going to the grocery store with his mom and his sister. It's kind of, something that just like really got imprinted on his mind. And the other one that comes to mind, or really there were two, but I had two Afghan entrepreneurs on the show. One is like a serial entrepreneur, and she's actually kind of famous, like even outside of crypto. Like, I don't know if you remember that whole thing with the Afghan robotics team in like 2018 or whatever. But anyway, so she also founded that organization that does that. Like they couldn't get their visas and then they did, or I don't remember the whole thing. But anyway, point is she had this startup in 2013 in Afghanistan. It was like microblocking, and a lot of the bloggers on there were women. But in Afghanistan, a lot of women don't have bank accounts. Or if they do, their male relatives will confiscate their money. So they set them up with Bitcoin wallets and taught them how to use them. Yeah. So she said, and she didn't say this in the interview, but I heard her say it another time. One of the women was in an abusive marriage and she saved her Bitcoin and was able to divorce her husband.
Wow.
So, like, I mean, there's just like really powerful stories of like how this helped everyday people. This is why also like when Americans or Canadians or whatever like shit on crypto, I'm like, yeah, you feel that way because you have financial privilege. you know?
It's also because of just general narrative. I think that like the news has become, which is why, I was saying, why try to take such an unbiased slant, which is kind of a funny thing to say. When I was doing my own journalism, it was like if you even had like an inline, like a blog post that was sponsored after the net, like after like in between, it was like, yo, this is questionable because it looks like editorial, was like literally like a question. Then BuzzFeed came out and just like decimated that whole thing. They were just like, fuck it. We're making that a sponsored post. And by the way, we're not even going to disclose that it's a sponsored post on there. It's just another post. And so it became like this push for essentially just like straight up monetization via, by any means necessary. But the ethics of it became blurry over time. But what I was going to say is like, that's why I'm also just genuinely curious in a space where I think money and like with crypto, everything is intertwined. Like money itself is the thing that we're operating with, basically. Like that, it's yes, it could be a random fungible token like Fartcoin that you mentioned, or it could be one that nobody's even heard of, and it's a made-up token, and we call it a quote utility token or whatever, like all that stuff. But like at the end of the day, all these things are sort of entwined with one another, which is why I was just generally curious, like, and genuinely curious, I should say, about like why take, one is you've done one reason of being involved is what you just articulated in the industry is because you think it has so much power. But I think also simultaneously giving a unbiased perspective doesn't usually sell as well, if I'm being completely honest, because the media has just adopted just saying, I'm going to give you a reason to be angry, is like essentially what the news has become at this point. And crypto is a phenomenal lightning rod to do that, to give examples of literal fraudulent activity by someone like Sam Bankman-Fried. You could have Michael Saylor, where it's like, is his thing on the verge, is it a Ponzi, and is it on the verge of collapse right now? That's a good story to have. But all these things, it's like easy for people to be like, see, that crypto thing is toxic, basically. And so I think it's very easy to have that narrative, and it does the best across all the media, where the average person is consuming that information and saying, dude, all I see is trash when it comes to crypto. So
Yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah, just like any technology, there's going to be good things and bad things about it. So I'm a little bit like, yeah, I wouldn't, I don't know. At least for crypto, I don't think I would have like a strong stance either way. But if I was going to pick one, it's going to be like, this is probably going to change the world, so you should learn about it.
mhm.
But that's not to say, like, of course, there have been so many scammers. I mean, we had one of the biggest ones in recent history, Sam Bankman-Fried. So I think that, like at least some of what I've done, hopefully, especially with my team, is like try to call out some of that. Obviously in my book, I did that as well. So I don't think that like people are unaware that there's this like see me side. It's definitely something that I've covered. But honestly, I feel like the reason I took that neutral stance is because it's just what I've done my whole career. So that's what I'm used to. But I have thought about, departing from that. And I might. It's definitely something that's on my mind for just a lot of different reasons that don't even necessarily have to do with crypto. So who knows, like maybe a year from now, like you'll have me back on the show and you'll be like, Laura, you have become an advocate. Like what happened?
Yeah. I look, the world needs you in it, and it needs your services. So I'm sure whatever path you decide, the people will embrace you. The thing I was going to bring up, unrelated to all of this, which was just this moment that pops up on my feed, and I'm just like, holy shit, this may be one of the best stories ever. What you just did with this North Korean hacker, essentially. This is like, what was the process of triggering the onset of saying, I'm going to go do this thing, basically?
I mean, no, it was easy. Honestly, some people just asked me to do it. They said, "Do you want to do this? We have somebody we're pretty sure we've identified as North Korean hacker." They gave me all the evidence. I looked it over, and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, clearly it's the same person." And then when he popped up on my Zoom screen, I was like, "Okay, it's the same guy." And so it kind of landed in my lap. But I was especially interested because my ancestors are from North Korea.
Okay.
So, like before it was North Korea. So for me, it's very personal. If it weren't for the courage of my ancestors, one of my parents would have been born in Pyongyang. So, like,
Wow.
yeah, it was really, honestly, it was truly just such an act of courage on the part of my ancestors to do what they did, because let's just put it this way, they were pretty well known, and once it was known that they had tried to leave, like there were headlines all over, people were looking for them. So it was not easy.
And so, that was part of the catalyst behind this, like looking at this Korean hacker.
Well, in my 30s, one of my close friends, who's like a white guy, gave me this book for my birthday that is all about North Korea. And it's actually such a good book. You guys should read it. Nothing to Envy by Barbara Demick. It's really well done. She interviewed all of these North Korean defectors. And wow, she shows you what life is like. And it's not just like, it's not a dry recounting. You get involved in their like emotional worlds, like
Mhm.
whole
Ooh.
families, love sagas, like, I mean, it's honestly, it's so well done. And ever since then, I just became completely obsessed. And I did shortly thereafter kind of learn the whole story about my ancestors escaping from there. So that got me even more interested. But like, these are not things my parents talked about. So I actually didn't know all that until like later on in my life.
Mhm.
But then, yeah, then after that, then I've kind of been obsessed with North Korea because once you learn, then it's just like heartbreaking, all these stories. Like basically, there's families where they've been completely just cut off from each other by, this kind of like war between North and South Korea. And they have done these like little reunification events where they'll find people who are still alive. And it's like these like 80 or 90-year-olds that haven't seen each other since they were like, 15 or whatever. and they're like crying and they didn't know each other were alive. And it's just like, oh my God, like how is this like going on? Like they should end this, especially because like the people in North Korea are all like suffering. But yeah, it's honestly, North Korea is such a tragedy. It's truly, I think, the worst place on the planet. Like it's literally a whole entire country that is actually a prison. Like you cannot travel within the country unless you get a permit, let alone you can, and you definitely can't travel out of the country, you know, obviously. They're not even allowed to know what the outside world is like. So yeah, I think it's really just one of the worst places in terms of human rights on the entire planet.
Well, that's pretty objective. I think a lot of I was watching. This isn't even fair to compare. I forget the name of the country. There's another one, the guy that's trying to sell oil right now. It's one of the stands. I forget which one it is. Not Kurdistan. It's I'll have to look up what it.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to news, which is embarrassing for a journalist to say, but for health reasons, I decided to stop, and it's been helping me.
Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan is one of the is actually pretty. It's not as extreme as North Korea, but this leader there, he has rules like if you go there in the main city, all the cars need to be white. It's supposedly the quote whitest city. It's not like I don't know what it feels like a combination. I don't know what the roots of Turkmenistan people are. It feels like this mixture of like Mongolian and Russian and like all. I don't know how else to describe
And
it.
Singaporean in terms of like how you know detail oriented the rules are.
Yes, yeah, I guess. I also think of like for some reason like Switzerland or Germany, or not Germany as much, Switzerland, where it's like a really like hyper clean area, and you're like, it's kind of missing the personality outside of this thing.
Yes,
Like,
yeah. In Singapore, you can't have chewing gum.
oh yeah, well that'd be true. Singapore doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel as awful as like some of these other countries where you can't use the internet in Turkmenistan. Basically, if you're like an average citizen.
So it's like North Korea.
It is, but there's people who have escaped and they're being threatened by the Turkmenistan. I forget whatever you call it, but they're like the third or fourth largest oil reserve that they're sitting on top of, and so basically the dictator who's running this, the family that controls this country, he's very much about going on TV and basically just like imprisoning random people within his like department if there's any and accusing them of corruption, and then basically everyone just serves at his needs. Basically, is the way that it
Wow.
works. So
Yeah. He and
it's
Kim Jong Un must be best friends.
it feels very similar. I think the one place that they had at well, anyways, it doesn't matter. I don't want to go down this whole path. The bottom line is a lot of countries like that are fascinating to hear the stories, and it's simultaneously devastating to to hear the personal, the human stories, I think, behind those.
Yeah.
So you didn't find anything, you sort of dismissed this one story that happened recently because you were just like, yes, it just landed in my lap. That's not even that interesting. But I'm like, obviously from a third party observing this was like, you just seemed so casual, like with this whole
No. It was a big deal. Like it's like I could feel myself physically just being on edge. Like when I was doing the interview, like first of all, I was freaked out before. I was like, so again, partly because my family had to escape and the government was like, find these people.
Yeah.
And it's not that many, it's 2 generations ago, right? So I was a little bit like, if they figure out who I am, and if he figures out who I am, and he knows that I'm not really this recruiter, and this was like a fake job interview, like I was nervous. So that's why like I worked with Nick to figure out, like what's the right setup, like do I need a VPN, like just all the things. But he actually was like, since we are controlling the Zoom, like this guy's not going to be able to get in. So then I was like, okay, so, but yeah, I was like, But also there, like I talked about in the piece, like there were just these emotions of like, oh my god, what if one of my parents had been born there? Like, what would their life have been like? It's just like, this is why, like, so for instance, I totally get that the US is not perfect, and I totally get that there are so many reasons why we can criticize our own government, but I do get really, really, really mad. Like, so a long time ago, this was like literally, I don't even, this was a long time ago. I remember I went on this date with somebody. It was my first date with this guy. And he said to me something about how he would rather live in North Korea than the US because the US was so horrible. The government was so horrible. And I just remember being like, you are the least educated person I have ever met in my entire life. Like, I just was like, I don't even want to talk to you again. Because, like, as somebody who, think about it, like, so one of my parents could have been born there, and who knows what would have happened, especially think about it this way. If my family had been caught and then my parent had been born there, like they literally would have lived out their days in the gulag. That is what would have happened because they tried to escape, like this whole thing, right? So instead, they live like this really nice, cushy life in the richest country in the world. Like, so that's why I get annoyed when I hear people criticize the US in this way. That's like so extreme as to be just completely fucking idiotic. And it's also why, like, I'm not a fan of China because so this is how I view it. I think that, like, so if you look at this microcosm of this peninsula that got split up into North Korea and South Korea, they're kind of like mini versions of China and the US, right? Like North Korea is a small, more extreme version of China, and South Korea is a smaller version of the US. And so, like, this is why, like, I'm anti-China for censorship. We have censorship here in the US too. I'm not blind to these issues, but we all saw, like, after COVID, remember when that doctor who had tried to warn people about the pandemic, I forget his name.
The Chinese doctor?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Iconic video of him, like, literally on,
Yes.
like, on, like, a respirator or whatever
Yes.
he's on, basically.
Yeah, and then the Chinese government tried to stamp that out and, like, censor it, and that was the one moment when so I don't remember all the details, but, like, the Chinese people actually did get to, like, say his name, or there was something, and then the government, like, covered it up later. I don't remember the whole thing, but it was like they tried to cover it up first, but then, like, the public outcry about it was so strong that they eventually kind of let them have their moment. And then anyway, all I'm trying to say is, and I know we have our version of that, but it's just not as extreme. Like, we can all tweet at President Trump, go fuck yourself, and, like, nothing will happen to us, but you cannot do that in China. Like, you will get sent to jail, like, whatever. So point is that, yeah, I get really annoyed when people say stuff like that to me. And so, yeah, like I said, like, I think, let's put it this way. When I was interviewing that guy, the North Korean developer, I was wondering, like, what series of, like, random, everyday choices by his ancestors and my ancestors led him to living in this jail, like being kind of an indentured slave to this dictator. And that led me to being an American, living, like 20 years in New York City, which is one of the richest places in the world. Like the threads of fate that, like, created these differences in outcome are just, like, fascinating to me. And I kind of felt the full weight of all that when I was interviewing him.
That makes, I mean, clearly, as you just shared, there's a huge portion of your own personal identity wound up in that literally just in that interview, basically, where you've had a strong personal connection to this, not just as a random journalist, but as someone who actually has familial ties, to North Korea historically, and could have been by, random chance or whatever, and by a family member's own will and self-doing, were able to avoid inevitably, the imprisonment that is North Korea. So that's, like, a very fortunate outcome. What do you think from this particular thing? Like, was there anything that you learned out of that interview? Or, like, also more importantly for you individually, this is a completely different face/role than, like, I don't, like, you're usually not a Vice reporter, I should say. Like, I don't think you would disagree with that, basically, where like if there's someone who's like on the ground going, there's a person, I don't know if you've watched Channel 5. I watched this guy and he's just phenomenal at his approach to things, but he uses like a gonzo journalism approach to just like literally going and landing in one of these like countries and then working with human traffickers to traffic himself into the United States was what he ended up doing, which was like a super fascinating thing to watch on YouTube. And
But like, how would he make a video of that? I don't understand the
he just
logistics
brought
of
a
that.
camera. He literally brought a camera, and he was like, "Can you put me in touch?" Because that system is so mature at this point in time. Like it's a full on enterprise that's processing billions of dollars in running a human trafficking business. Basically, that's a huge enterprise at this point. So he showed up literally and had some of these people whose faces were blurred and everything else to eventually get. He was at the end of the point. He wasn't down in like Guadalajara or some other like he wasn't in some. Although I don't know where Guadalajara is actually geographically, but I think he was further south actually. So like a lot of people go on this journey. There's a great book, I forget something about something dirt. It's such a good novel. Anyways, I'll have to find the name of it. But the bottom line is. Basically where someone goes from like, southern Mexico and people in other countries, how they get, pushed up through that entire process to eventually get to the border. And so these border crossings are where a lot of the activity is happening. And so there's people on the Mexican side, which is where he went and just got to that last point and said, hey, can you help me go across here? I'll pay you guys. They're providing a service, basically. That's the way that it operates there. It's the same way that your local neighborhood drug dealer would, who could have been your friend in high school or something like that. Like it
Wow.
literally, I feel like it's as structured as that, basically. It's risky. Like you could definitely end up screwed. And he ended up in American jail for a couple weeks as a result of it. But he eventually got out and did a whole documentary on it. But the reason that I bring that whole thing up is because Vice, this guy Channel 5, and all these other people, they're doing like on the ground. We're going to go try and get behind the scenes. I've seen North Korean ones also. There's people that try and do this. I just watched the Turkmenistan one, which is why it was fresh. That's a different role for you than like your normal, like obviously like crypto interview. Obviously you said you were feeling nervous, but how does that make you think about like your own approach to like content, and would you want to do something like this again? Do you think that did that bring a level of excitement that you want to seek? Like what was the overall like takeaway from that, other than the fact that, hey, this guy is a North Korean hacker? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, it's funny that you're asking me this question right now because so I've talked about this multiple times on my show. I've been dealing with like really crazy health stuff going on for a very, very, very long time. So that's why I just do these like remote interviews, because I kind of like need to be home a lot. I have a lot of stuff I have to do health wise. Like I truly just spend an insane amount of time on all that every single day. But I'm actually getting like quite a bit better with the help of AI. So yeah, it's like, it's just crazy, like how much more time I think that I feel that I have now. It's like I still have to put in a fair amount of time, but it's just like improving so fast that I'm a little bit like, oh my God, my symptoms are less. Like I don't have to spend as much time on this. Like I could soon have more hours in the day. And I'm just like, whoa, like what am I going to do with that? And I'm already thinking about like new things that I want to do work wise. Like people always say to me when I do show up at a conference, they're always like, I never see you at conferences. And it's like, yeah, because for me to go to a conference, I have to just the insane amount of stuff I have to pack, and like I have to bring pretty much nearly all my food with me. Like it's just kind of this fucking massive undertaking. Wow. So that's why I just don't go to conferences that much, because it's just like it's way more work. Like I've almost every time I travel, I have to bring 2 suitcases. And it's like, I have so much health stuff with me that's why I have to have a second suitcase. Like I will often pack a styrofoam box of all my food for anyway. It's just so much work. So now that I'm like getting so much better, I'm like, oh my God, like I could probably have more time for a normal life. I could probably go out and do things more. Like I could go to events, I could go to conference, like, and I'm a little bit like, what am I going to do with all this extra time? Granted, I don't have it yet, but I can tell that it's coming because I'm already noticing like I have more time.
Hmm.
So that's why, yeah, these are good questions that I am going to ask myself over the next, however many months or days or however long it takes to fully finish out. But like for the longest time, I was very restricted in what I could do. And I was just making do with what I had in terms of my own energy and time. And that was
How
it.
long has that been?
Oh my God, it's gonna be 16 years in like a couple
Oh
weeks.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. And did this like you don't have to talk about any of this by the way, but like did it just like was it like a progressive thing or it was like a moment in time and then basically
It
from
was
then on?
both. It started with like an initial illness that was a moment in time, and then there were progressive things after that. Yeah, and yeah, believe me, you guys are going to hear a lot more about this because like now that I'm close to coming out on the other side, I'm sort of ready to start talking about it, and I have been working on how I'm going to reveal all this to people. So you guys, let's just say your minds are going to be fucking blown because like what I went through is truly jaw-dropping and fucking insane, and none of it was necessary. I learned. So I'm going to like teach you so much stuff.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I can only say I lived to tell the tale, but I had to suffer so much to get here. And for that reason, I am coming out of this period pretty fucking radicalized.
Mm.
So yeah, people are going to be shocked. I know that the views that I have come out of the other side with are not mainstream views, and some people will find them offensive, but I have the battle scars. You cannot convince me otherwise. And you cannot refute my truth and my lived experience. So,
Is
yeah.
it like a combination of misdiagnoses, mistreatment, and beyond,
Oh,
basically?
yeah, yeah. Things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the AI has been absolutely freaking transformative. Even in
Yes.
my own, I am so lucky. Uh, Obviously, getting any sort of disease or any circumstance is not something that we are blessed with. But I think I feel so grateful to be alive at the moment that I am, where leading into this and having tools, there's more tools becoming available right now. And I think there's a lot of people, including within the health system today, that are young and into innovation and into testing and other things that are part of it. I know with my own cancer journey, basically, there's a difference between my oncologist that's here in Miami and when I talk to the guy in New York at Sloan Kettering. This guy's like a young guy who's monitoring all of the latest trials, has opinions on all these different things, is always like, and when I discuss experimental stuff, where I'm like, yeah, I want to get my DNA sequenced on the mass that I have sitting in the tissue in the place right there. I'm like, yo, that's my tissue in that freezer or whatever it is over there. I want the data on that thing, basically. Like, I don't know what the outcome of that is, but I want the data. I went through literally had to get the surgery to get this thing out. So I'm like, yeah, I want that. Whereas the guy here is like, nah, it's probably not worth it. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you're gonna I'm like, I got cut open. Give me give me the tissue. I'm gonna go and get anyway. So it
Yeah. The
will
number
have,
one piece of advice I can give you is to not blindly trust your doctor. That
oh yeah.
was my number one biggest mistake. Far and away in my entire life, out of anything I've ever done in my life. That was my number one biggest mistake across all my years of living on this planet.
I mean the problem is doctors are humans, and there's really a lot of variance that you'll get across the board, and it's really difficult in terms of like
Even
one's
the
approach.
even the top-notch doctors.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
People,
it's
they're
all
so-called
branding.
top-notch.
The top notch people are just like, there was this guy. Yeah, I've gone through the same journey where I was like, I need to get the best doctor. I need to talk to I
Yeah,
reached out
don't
to
don't
every.
trust that they're the best. Don't trust your own observation of what's happening in your body, and don't let anybody gaslight you about it.
That is the most important thing, and that actually is I share in that viewpoint. Being your own advocate for what your body is telling you is the most important thing, because your lived
Yes.
experience is hands down the most important data point. Because I
Yes.
remember with my eczema, this would not have been found. It literally would not have been found. Like I would be at a later stage than I currently am, and it could have gone on for an extended period of time if I wasn't like, if by chance one doctor had not placed some order. And through my whole journey, there's been other just random acts of God, frankly, that I can
Yes.
only chalk it up to, where I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to go to the ER because I'm feeling off. Which is like the average person is gonna be like, Nick, you feel off? You're gonna go to the ER for that? Like the ER is also not a pleasant experience because it takes hours to go through, no matter which ER you go to. That like they'll get you in there, but then you're just gonna wait in the room. You got to work through it. But I think trusting your body is such an important thing. There's a lot of actually books, including on the emotional side. The Body Tells the Story or something like that. I forget
Oh,
what
yeah, I've been meaning to read that. Yeah.
that one's a pretty good book. I mean, it kind of summarizes exactly what the title is, but it is a really good book, and I think there's a lot of like I've read therapy books, I've read physical health ones, but I think the Body Keeps the Score, I think, is what.
Oh, right.
But yeah, there's I'm sorry that you went through that, and I'm sure that your documentation of that will be phenomenal. And frankly, I don't know, are you writing a book?
People are gonna think I'm like fucking nuts, but I'm excited. I'm like, you guys, I have a story to tell you.
I mean, there's the last thing I'll say on this. There's we have a friend of the show, the original podcast that we had when we would wake up and do the Nifty Morning Show every day on X, and there was a friend of the show who had serious chronic illness, and I don't know that they've ever diagnosed, what the thing is. It's some like obscure sort of situation, but he literally has like a tank in his basement that he goes in, like an oxygen tank and all these other things, pressure, like he has all sorts of stuff that enables him to literally like get by. But I mean,
If you want to connect me with him, I'm happy to give him some tips.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm sure he goes, he's very on the forefront, but yeah, I can actually put you guys in touch, and maybe you have some.
I have so many thoughts on, yeah, all kinds of health related stuff.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it. And if you want to do a separate show talking just about health, if you ever feel like that you want to talk about it, look, it's a universal thing. And the thing that I realized that I took away from my own personal journey, I think my cancer virality was solely because it was like, oh, that guy is not usually vulnerable, and that character is one of which is like literally putting up walls. Like the guy is a materialistic, that's all that's valued in the world, and that's what's great. And now it's like a mixture of, wow, look at this guy's downfall. But also I think there were people that were like, oh, this guy's vulnerable. Like that's crazy. And I think the story that I've learned, or the lesson that I've learned from that, is just, well, I love, like in my personal life, I like leading with vulnerability, to be completely honest, but you wouldn't get that from observing the content online. But I think on the health stuff, there's so many people that have reached out. It's just universal. It is a universal experience. Everybody has health circumstances. It's widespread. It's maybe the potentially most widespread thing that you can have, is just living in your experience of it, and your health is at the foundation of all of that. So I think that's why it's like, and half the stuff online is just straight garbage, or 90% of
Yes.
it. And half those people are as bad as the doctors that are telling you bullshit, basically,
Yes.
which is like, frankly, they should be sued. It's like we're suing the guy for creating a Ponzi scheme. Who gives a shit? Like, how about the guy who's telling you information that can literally kill you by following those instructions? Wouldn't that be worse? I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyways, we'll definitely have to discuss it. We went off on a tangent there, and obviously medical stuff is near and dear to my heart at the moment. But
Yeah.
I would love to discuss that another time. Last thing on the crypto side of things, where are you like in terms of your own personal investments today? I know you said that you have exposure to it, but how do you feel positioned? Well, I'm curious. One, do you care about the market cycles? And B, where are you positioned as it applies to the current market cycle?
I care about it like enough, but the truth is, I have somebody manage my money, so
Mm.
I'm not like I'm not sitting here like with a bunch of wallets, and you know what I mean.
Mhm.
So I basically care for my business. I care because I think that's important for crypto adoption.
Mhm.
And I think that crypto is ultimately going to be a force for good in the world, like mixed bag on whether it's been so far now. I understand that. But I think like by and large, that is what it is and will continue to be. So I basically, yeah, I think bull markets are good for us because they get more people in. Unfortunately, yeah, some percentage of those are scammers, which is the not good part. But yeah, I do care from that perspective, and I care because, like I said, somebody's managing my money, and they do have some crypto in there. So it matters from my personal perspective, but obviously, I'm not custodying any of that. They themselves are not like, yeah. So
Okay. So it's run through money. That's a good way to stay detached from it, I guess. We discuss when I say I guess it's because we are borderline degenerates. Well, there's a degree of degeneracy that I think is intrinsic to our business, where that was the foundation of everything that we covered, and so we're constantly like kind of part of the casino, basically of the crypto side that has long been. I mean, if you look at product market fit domestically and in first world countries, a lot of it has been casino oriented, whether or not, how you want to categorize each slice of these different areas. I
yeah,
also,
I mean, actually, so that is another thing that I've been wondering is when I talked about how I'm noticing I have more time because my symptoms are less. I've been wondering because so my job in crypto has been to like make podcasts, articles, run my business about crypto, right? That doesn't leave me a lot of time, and then with all the health stuff, I don't have a lot of time for like anything except for those two things. Basically, it's like I work on my work and then I work on my health. And like to the point where I truly have like almost no social life because I'm literally spending all my time on my health. But now I'm like, oh, like maybe I can like start using crypto more because I'll have like more time to learn about it. Whereas like before, it was like I just had so many fucking tasks about all these like supplements and then do this. Like I just was constantly doing all these health things that like I have to like learn it and then execute that. And so that was just like its whole other thing. But like now I'm like, I could potentially have more time on the computer where I don't have to like do my work. So like
Mhm.
maybe I might feel more around more with crypto. Like I like it's like when now that I've been filling all my spare time with health, it's like, oh, now if I don't have to spend my time on that, what am I going to fill that time with? And it's like I almost don't know who I am anymore because like since I've spent so long just focused on that, it's like what are my hobbies? Like I almost don't know.
Mhm.
So that was a thing that I was wondering. Like maybe I will
Become
transact
a
more in
degenerate
crypto.
gambler.
Yeah, maybe I'll become a degen. I don't know.
I don't recommend it for health purposes, if I'm being completely honest, but we would welcome you with open arms to participate and
Great.
feel free to shill our backs because everyone benefits
Maybe I will.
from.
Maybe Unchained will become like the degen crypto publication.
Yeah, there you go. You're going to be interviewing. You're going to have some big, I don't know, some World Liberty Fi executive on who you're interviewing and saying this episode is brought to you by Fartcoin. Uh, Look, I own a lot of it, and so let me tell you, I think this thing's going to $10.
It's
So
going to the moon.
Laura, I appreciate you having coming on the show. I appreciate you taking an extended period of time. We definitely should have you back on the show again. I really enjoyed this
Yeah,
conversation,
this was fun.
and I think there's a lot more to discuss. And I look forward to hearing about your unfortunate, journey with health. But I'm happy to hear that there's a really positive outcome coming out of it. And I'm sure,
you.
it feels something that you've been living with for a long time to finally come out feels like you're out of prison or something like that, basically.
Yeah.
And being a little shell shocked, basically, to be like,
That
okay,
is not a bad analogy, actually.
yeah, I can't even imagine. 16 years is wild. I've been fortunate enough for it to be almost 3 years basically, and for large portions of that, it was manageable because I was injecting myself with the latest pharmaceutical, and that made it like semi-tolerable. So I was able to deal with it, but
Wait, but that wasn't the cancer, right? Because the cancer was a pretty recent diagnosis.
eczema 3 years ago, basically. I
Oh,
started eczema and I didn't know what it was,
right.
basically. And no one in my family has had eczema other than like obviously like everyone gets a rash or something like that once in a while from some random thing. But I think in this case it was literally it became crippling for in 2024, right as Choose Rich basically started going viral.
Oh, wow.
I literally had I was like I was getting covered in something that I had no idea what it was. It was very itchy, and that turned out to be the lymphoma. But
Wow.
it took me pursuing it over and over and over for an extended period of time to finally get to a point where blood tests that I took from Function Health ended up basically being a source of information that one of the doctors ended up referencing that was like, oh, I'm going to have you go take this imaging thing because I don't want you to be put on statins. Had I been sent to the cardiologist, I don't think they would have actually found it. I would have been put on statins. We would have missed this whole cycle completely. But because he sent me there and the imaging guy, the technician, he was like, bro, do you have lymphoma? And I was like, excuse me? I was like, yo, are you
Wow.
legally allowed to say that? But in hindsight, I wanted to be like, you know what? This guy was actually completely right. I don't like the way that he delivered it. No one likes hearing something that's like, whatever like a diagnosis from someone who's not necessarily supposed to be giving diagnoses.
Right.
But essentially, like, it then took a few more months for me to get to a point where I was like, okay, yes, I'll cut myself open and get this mass sampled, basically.
Wow.
Find out
Yeah.
what.
No, I also use Function Health. I'm a big fan. And in fact, I now will only do either functional medicine or a naturopath. I will never, ever, ever, ever go back to a Western medical doctor ever. I'll do
Interesting.
the ER. That's it. But
Yeah.
otherwise, forget about it. No, no, absolutely not.
There's certain things that I think vary, like the cancer thing. For me, I've seen both sides of this journey from other cancer survivors specifically in terms of how they've navigated it. So I think everyone, again, everyone's health journey is a personal one, and I think that it's one that it not only is a personal, it needs to be personalized. And I think that's something that the Western medical system is not designed around. I mean, frankly, it's like you're looking for the lowest common denominator amongst all conditions so that you can sell more drugs, inevitably, is like a main
That's
motivator.
exactly that's
And,
exactly what that whole system is
and,
about.
but some of the drugs work, some of the things work, but I can completely understand. I'm looking forward to hearing your own personal journey on that side of things. But yeah, and I'll put you in touch with my buddy around. Maybe you can uh, shed some light. I don't know what he came back from Japan from a trip dealing with something and they've never figured out what it was, basically. Um,
Oh,
and he's still to this day, I think, has been dealing with this. So,
yeah. I will totally talk to him.
okay.
Yeah. Wow. You really did get because you started this by saying that you wanted to talk about like more my journey, and you got like the full part of it, the professional and the personal.
Well, I mean, I wanted to have a conversation with you. I really respect what you've done. And I think that, I mean that sincerely, coming into this space, crypto is viewed pretty much as a pretty radical place to begin with, basically. And I think that I always had a pretty polarized view on crypto as an outsider who bought some Bitcoin in 2013 around the same time as you, basically, and had watched Bitcoin before that by my roommate who'd been in a forum that had told me about this thing. And so I kind of watched the evolution of that thing take place. But what I saw was a lot of friends in a friend in San Francisco who basically made a lot of money out of the ICO boom And I watched that take place, and I was like, man, all this shit is a scam. So I had a really biased perspective. But when NFTs came around, I was like, oh, okay, I think this is really interesting. Anyways, needless to say, even when I came back to it, it was hard to find literally anybody other than yourself and a couple of other people. I'm blanking on her name, that wrote a book about Ethereum.
Camilla Russo.
It's so fucking good, that book. That was like it was so well written that I was like, wow, this is an incredible book. And The Infinite Machine, or I believe,
Yeah.
and seeing that, seeing some of the people who to me felt like they had a grounded reality, like a perspective on the world. You're one of those people that I think I'm like, yeah, like she looks like she has like a nuanced perspective on society and the existence of life, basically. And I think that that's required. Whereas you come into this space, it's just like Bitcoin to the moon is not giving you a nuanced perspective. And someone who blindly buys MicroStrategy and just will keep proclaiming how he's the greatest savior since Jesus, basically, to me, is not doing a service to the broader audience. And I think you're one of those voices, and it's a limited subset. So I really appreciate that from you, and that's why I really value it. So I appreciate you coming on, and I wanted to just have a conversation to really get to understand you more, because I respect what you've done, and it's really interesting. I always like hearing someone's path to get to where they are today, and I want to have you back on to hear about the health stuff when you're ready to talk about it.
Thanks.
Because it's a great conversation. So I really appreciate.
It's a wild story, actually.
I'm sorry that you experienced it the way that you have, and I'm glad that you found a solution that seems to be working for you, and you're on this journey finally out of the prison that you've been in for a period of time. I cannot imagine, but I'm very happy for you.
Thank you. Thanks. That means a lot. And I'm very happy for you that you're feeling better as well.
Appreciate it. I mean, it's just, let's get through this damn thing, basically.
Yeah.
The thing that thanks for coming on, Ray. Do you think it's worthwhile for us to knock out a couple quick stories?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, we have to do a couple stories. We had to cover some of the meme coin stuff.
Laura, you're welcome to stick around for it, or you.
Unfortunately, I've got to run.
Okay. Well,
but thank you.
Thank you again for coming on, and we'll have you again once you're ready to talk about the other stuff going on.
Yeah, this was great. So when I leave, do I just close the window? I don't want you to lose anything.
No, you can just leave.
Oh, okay. Thanks so much again. This was super fun, and I'd love to come back.
We cannot wait to have you back. So shout out to Laura for coming on to the show. I really enjoyed my conversation with her. We're going to do the rapid fire news to go through some of the top stories. Before we do so, Ray, I think it would be worthwhile to bring up the star of the show, Bubble Maps. Look, not a lot of people have had the balls to come on and back Choose Rich Live. But let me tell you, those who have are some of the best companies around. And we need to make a layout so that we can show something like this. By the way, the width of your screen, Ray, is still off. That's what solves the problem. If you make the browser skinnier, not just zooming. Yeah. Oh, you almost had it. Almost got it. Getting close.
It makes it very difficult to navigate these tabs, but yeah, we can do this.
Yeah. Look at that. But we need to fix the UI so it doesn't have that the double sponsor. We'll do that for the next show. Bubble Maps, you all probably already know them, I would presume. Is there actually is there a new product that they have?
I mean, they've been iterating on products. Their latest product that they released, we've covered for a bit, was their Intel Desk, where people can decentralize investigations. They offer bounties up for doing research into tokens, founders, storylines. But I mean, their flagship product is the Bubble Map. That you see now integrated across many meme coin trading platforms, across Dex Screener. And this is one that, if you are a trader in the space, you obviously know what this is. And if you don't, you need to be paying attention to the bubble maps when you're making these trades for low market cap meme coins like we tend to do sometimes.
1,000%. Someone says, "Good to hear the Mongolia prince's voice." That's you. Ray's Mongolian for those that aren't aware.
Great to be here, Notorious.
Shout out to Bubble Maps. We appreciate having them on. What is there something that I can? Is there like a thing that I can read, Ray?
That you can read. We can talk about the platform right here.
What I'm saying is if I'm looking at this and I give this and I say the thing with you not off the screen with me actually reading a thing, then I can clip it and post it on X. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah, I
That-
do understand that.
that-
I'm not just gonna sit here and read you the script out.
if you want to copy paste it, I can go
I don't.
read
I
it.
don't. It's using the platform together is what we're going to be doing here.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's use the platform. What are we looking into here, Ray? We're looking into CyberLeak, right?
Yes. So if you're not familiar with this story, GTA 6 had some gameplay footage released and a meme coin launched by the person who released it. Looking at bubble maps here, you can see the small green circle here is the creator of this token, and this big green circle here is a wallet that is his that holds 27% of the supply as of Friday. This has moved a bit since then, but this is like a main concern for like the narrative of this token over time. And using bubble maps, you can you can adjust the date. You can see like how these different bubbles adjust over time as you look at like different dates. So you can see like the big clusters potentially moving elsewhere or selling off. So you can get an idea of like the health of the token during these like different time frames.
Very interesting. Okay. Is Min in one of these? Do we get to see him? Because isn't he the biggest beneficiary so far of CyberLeak?
Yeah, so he owns a solid percent of this. I believe this is his wallet right here, this number 3 wallet right here. He has, I believe, 13 or like 1.3% of the supply.
You know, why would this narrative continue to thrive? We should go back. I guess that didn't. You crashed it, right? What the hell, dude?
That's my bad. I'm going to go over and show Min's position here while I load that back up so we're not just watching me move around in here.
This has fluctuated a lot. I believe Min sold. How much did he sell? Like 15 grand?
I don't see anything on closed position for CyberLeak for him.
I thought he posted that he was selling some here. He took back his original.
Yeah, here we go. So we've got 7, 14, 21, 26K sold yesterday.
And I think that's his original. He took his original position out. I believe that's how much he bought, right?
Yeah, he has a lot of buys here over time. He like just kept hitting buy thousands of dollars while it was at its lows. You can see all the buys here.
My question is, why would this thing continue to sustain? You're like, no matter, not only is this one individual guy a risk to it, but why would this token, this is really just a viral moment, but like GTA 6 is going to come out, although not until November. So I guess we got until then. But like, why would this keep going?
I mean, have you seen his thesis on this or like what his thoughts are? Like he's had some pretty like wild bull cases where he's like, this is all like a PR stunt by Take-Two. And then it's going to have some sort of tie to how crypto is tied into the game.
What?
Yeah, he's got like a very wild like idea of like what could potentially happen with this token. And that's kind of been his like his like thesis from the beginning.
Okay, well, that's a pretty wild thesis. I like that concept, but gamers are notoriously anti-crypto, and anything involved with crypto is something that has been just basically completely protested universally. So yeah, that's not an ideal situation. I mean, that's a crazy position. But where is this going to go? Like, walk me through what even is going to happen then. So somehow this gets integrated with GTA 6?
I guess. Like I'm trying to pull up the exact
Isn't it a pump fund token?
pump fund token, correct. Here you go.
This is straight up hopium. Okay,
CyberLeak Yeah, Cyber League is a marketing stunt done by Take-Two, Netflix, Xbox, streamers, and other parties. It's amassed over 1 billion views across social media. It'll then lead to the announcement of ownership rights for gamers, starting with the physical copies of GTA 6. Also, a chance to announce the concept of on-chain ownership of items made in game, how players can trade them between themselves and have currency that goes between real life and the digital world. I may be wrong, but if I'm right.
This is substantial hopium. Well, very interesting nonetheless. Shout out to Bubble Maps for, were you able to get that back up?
Yeah, pulling it back
Shout
up.
out to Bubble Maps for partnering with us and having the technology that enables us to visualize kind of the picture of each of these different tokens. They're also working on some new Solana specific products that they're going to be rolling out. Really excited to see those. Shout out to Bubble Maps. We hope to have them on again. We will have them on again. Let's dive into, let's do a true rapid fire real quick, Ray. Is that cool?
Yeah, hit it.
Sorry, I just want to see where my mouse is. Okay. In Washington, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent could tap the Treasury General account, sitting near $950 billion to fund expanded bond buybacks. Treasury already doubled its long end buybacks from $2 billion to at least $4 billion. I feel like that story was a little bit misleading when he was describing that he was going into the open market and purchasing $4 billion. That's on a daily basis. That number is a ridiculous statement where it's like, hey, he bought $4 billion worth of bonds. That was in a single day. The problem is he hasn't been able to get the interest rate under control. And it's not clear that he's going to be able to. The reality is he has to keep spending money. And this is more inflationary pressure, the money printer go burr type situation, but coming from the Treasury, not just from the Federal Reserve. If the long-term interest rates continue to rise, that would prevent them from lowering interest rates in the U.S. What is the current 10-year looking at, and how has that adjusted over the past? Is that the U.S. 10-year? That's the 30-year. Let's look at the 10-year real quick. What is it?
Daily? 4.7 on the daily right now.
Where was the day where it dipped? Maybe if you give a an hourly view of this, this would be a more accurate thing because you're going back pretty far. This is what happened. So it went straight down. It is coming down again, but I mean, this chart looks like it just keeps bouncing back and forth between 4.6 and 4.7. I mean, it's a pretty actually consistent thing. This market is volatile at the very edge of volatility, where I would call fractions of percentages. Wow, you were doing TA on this chart.
I just drew the lines that you were talking about, that range.
Got it. Yeah, I think this will be interesting to see how it plays out. Scott Bessent basically hopping in to fight what's essentially the market dumping bonds. They've had enough of the U.S. So who's a better buyer than buying it? The U.S. How does that work? That's for you to figure out. Over in crypto, Bitcoin ETFs took in roughly $1.9 billion last week, while Ethereum funds added $697 million, both 2026 records. Bitcoin posted its second best week since early 2021 and broke over 80,000 this morning. It's since pulled back. Grayscale's spot Zcash ETF starts trading tomorrow. Let's go. And is the first U.S. fund tracking ZEC directly. Zcash is now trading over $830. I think, look, the reality here, a number of things. One, let's go that we have a ton of ETF inflows. I'd like to see that on a chart, how these inflows compare to historical records, Ray. And the other aspect of this, the new Zcash ETF is very exciting. What's crazy about Zcash is you can completely hide your money from the government and corporations, which makes me wonder, like, this is like the pinnacle moment of corporate meets crypto and corporate becoming an advocate for true cyberpunk ideals. I mean, it's basically like the corporations backing anarchy. It's pretty incredible. Zcash, I am a holder of it. Do not hold the level that I wish I did. I'm way behind on this. And I'm like, am I going to go drop another? I wish I had put $100,000 at $100 and instead I've put, 50,000 or whatever it is in, and I'm thinking of putting another 50,000 in. And this may have a temporary pullback. I have no idea where this goes. I couldn't tell you. I think it could come back to 500, but I don't give a shit. I'll be buying more. This is an exciting time for Zcash. Their product is not even actually fully mature to the level that it needs to be. They're working on stablecoin support, which wouldn't come until next year. So like the dream state is that you have a wallet protected from the government. You have your own. It's not going to be Ledger, by the way. It's going to be another treasury provider. Fuck Ledger. Fuck Trezor. They're absolute bear to work with. I think that I think their product. I think Ledger's product is sick. My Ledger, this thing is so fucking cool, and they completely screwed it up. But anyways, there's an equivalent one for Zcash that you can use. That they'll literally pay you a discount to go sign up. I'll have to go look up what that is. But anyways, that's what's going on over in Zcash and crypto land. Where are we at right now? How's Bitcoin after this hour on the show? 78,940. We're coming back a little bit. I don't know. We were rejected off that 80K story. OCC granted World Liberty Trust Company preliminary conditional approval for a National Trust Bank charter. I saw this news the other day. The first ever tied to a Trump family crypto venture. It clears the firm to issue and redeem C1 stablecoin once it puts up $20 million in capital. That's not a lot of money that they got to put up. And it's pretty crazy that they're going to have a bank-specific stablecoin, but there are multiple banks that they're going to be competing with, including JP Morgan, Schwab, and everybody else. I think Schwab is actually owned by JP Morgan. Charles Schwab, JP Morgan, Bank of America, you name it, they'll have it. Chase, all these banks are going to have stable coins, and just like Trump. Am I going to bank at Trump's bank? Probably not, but they have the correct ideals. Vlad Tenev talked about the meme coin as they're being launched on Robinhood chain in an interview with the coffee, I forget the name of the Graham Stephan, his podcast. He went on there to talk about meme coins and a lot of the stuff being with tokenized assets, specifically pointing at Cash Cat, Pond, stockbrokers. He didn't discuss them by name, but that's what he was alluding to. Hood is currently trading at 106 and down 1% on the day, gaining 13% last week. I mean, look, the biggest story here is Vlad is very interested in what's going on the crypto side, and the whole stockbroker side of thing. It seems like he's paying very close attention to, because what he was describing was literally stockbrokers, which was one of the first programs on their chain and part of the launch of the chain, actually. So he can't discuss it because it's not regulated, and he doesn't want to be pointing at it for regulation, and there's no regulatory clarity. There should be, but that's what he was discussing. Over in Beijing, a humanoid robot called Tianzhong Ultra ran the 100 meters in 9.3 seconds at the World Humanoid Robot Games. Saw that one, beating Usain Bolt's 9:58. The same model took the 438.16. That's a hell of a sentence. Shout out to Tianzhong Ultra. That guy's fast. You want to show some of the videos of these guys running, Ray? Here we go. Well, we can start with that one. It's actually crazy that the other one came from behind. Or did the red, which one won?
The white or the one?
The white one?
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
This one got I saw so many robots carried off on stretchers. My For You feed today became like a highlight reel of these robots, like just like the bloopers from them. Like there was like a soccer one that was like pretty wild too, where they fall on the ground. It was like real soccer. They're almost like embellishing, and then like somebody has to come and like get these guys off the ground.
There's a lot of crazy noise coming from this video. You want to turn the audio off?
There you go.
Yeah, that's wild.
And then some more robots just doing like weird things and freaking out. It was a pretty wild day for the robots on the timeline.
Shout out to the robots. They're taking over. I mean, the fact that it's come this far is pretty crazy. That's it for today's roundup. Shout out to Laura Shin for coming on the show. This was a particularly long episode because we had a conversation with her. Then we hopped into the news. Shout out to Bubble Maps for partnering with us. We appreciate having you on the show. And we'll have you on again as a partner. Go check out bubblemaps.io. Their product is great. And they have...
Bless you.
I believe they have a Chrome plugin you can install, correct?
I think so.
Check it out.
Don't quote me on it.
I believe they have a plugin that you can use as you're analyzing these different sites. If they don't, I mean, we should go build one for them if they don't have it, for the love of God. Anyways, shout out to everybody for joining. Appreciate you all. We will be back on Wednesday. See you then.